yeah, they'll freeze.
They got through this Valley Spring to the yard, and the old, the twins are younger, but
Oh gosh.
oh, that'll just go in. And well, you're excited about it, but I don't know what it is. Yeah, I was going to say I got.
So the numbers in the garden name what's in your ticket. It should be all numbers on the maps. And
Good morning, I'm Frank and this is Katie, and we're with St. John Community Access TV, and here we are at the Master Gardeners, and I want to talk to her, since she's one of the ladies on the front line volunteering her time, about what the Master Gardeners and plant sale is, and who it benefits. Wouldn't mind?
So, Master Gardeners are a University of Missouri Extension program where the Master Gardeners go through 30 hours of training and then they volunteer back into the community. This is part of the St. Genevieve Master Gardeners volunteer opportunities,
Right.
and they do a plant sale and garden walk every year. It's the weekend after Mother's Day, always. Then that money that they earn from the garden walk tickets and the plant sale goes back to the community in beautification grants.
I see. Okay. Well, how long have you been doing it?
So I have been the coordinator of the Master Gardeners for MU Extension for 15 years, and they've been doing it longer than that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I don't know how long.
Do you have a garden?
Of course, I'm a horticulturalist. I have to grow plants.
Right,
Yes.
right. Okay.
You know, picking a favorite plant's kind of like picking a favorite kid. You can't do that, right?
Oh, right, right. Well, someone here actually told me once that weeds are just flowers that nobody wants.
That depends. Actually, the definition of a weed is any plant growing where you don't want it.
Oh.
So if it's not where you want it, you can call it a weed.
Ooh.
So that could be anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes everything. Well, listen, thank you. Oh, and so this is all throughout St. Genevieve. I see you have the maps here.
Yes.
And how much are tickets?
Tickets are $10.
Okay.
Plants
Wow.
are various prices,
Sure, of
and the ticket is good for both days, since we have a lot of gardens and a lot of things to see, and
Yes,
you can
you
do
do.
it at your own pace and enjoy.
Right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ooh. This rubber is absolutely fantastic. I mean, wow, this is a manicured garden for sure. I'm Frank, and again, I'm with Miss Judy Ewing here. Junie, excuse me. Yes, I even wrote it down. That's what makes it worse. But anyway, nonetheless, you're a gardener here, and thank you so much for giving us access to your garden.
Started this new bed.
Right.
More azaleas and rhododendrons, which don't like it here, so trying to find places to shade.
I
Raise
see.
them up. And you use the pine straw, which is just country leaves. Because we have alkaline soil, and a lot of the things we like need acid. So it continues, its acid, it continues to break down. And having a wood house, it doesn't carry termites like the wood mulch does.
Oh, I see. How long have you been doing it in general, and what got you into it?
All my life.
Really?
My grandfather had a 2-acre garden in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I grew up. And we used to play tag in the asparagus after it grew up.
Oh, I didn't realize asparagus got that tall.
Yeah,
to do that.
well, yes, you really should, but I thought about this big.
Really?
He used to grow a lot of things, and then my mom always, we did organic gardening back before we started. Back in the 60s. She loved Adele Davis. We talked about all the chemicals in food and how bad they were.
Well,
So she
sure.
loved to grow things herself.
Well, yeah, well, that's absolutely fantastic. The time it takes to see that, it's basically like seeing the future or hoping for a future. You plant something today, you hope that the weather turns out, and you manicure it and cultivate it in order for it to actually flourish in a time. And you can't predict the weather, but just the time involved, it's such a gamble. I don't.
But isn't that the way life is?
Well, I suppose it
I
is,
mean, you
isn't it?
look and you choose a dream.
Yeah.
Because when you put walls around yourself and say it can't be done, then you don't do it.
Yeah,
I
you
say it
limit
can't be
yourself.
done.
I agree.
So you choose a dream and you live into it.
Yeah.
And life happens.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Absolutely fantastic, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
I'm Frank with St. John Community Access TV, and I'm here with Nancy Fisher. Now, we're talking about her wonderful garden that she's put so much work into. First of all, how long have you been gardening?
I kind of started after my mother died. It's kind of a tribute to her. So 20 years.
Wow. Okay, yeah, my mom passed away almost 20 years ago.
Right.
I haven't done anything so wonderful as this.
So this was actually her flower bed. She had just a couple small flower beds, but she was always
All right.
always loved flowers. So
Sure.
she would really like this, but she wouldn't like all the upkeep of this.
Well, yeah, but one thing led to another, I think. I mean, just, look at the trim work, and, and just the organization of just how many different varieties of plants you have. How many varieties of plants would you say you have?
I wouldn't have any idea.
Really?
I really wouldn't.
Well,
Maybe 100 or so.
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean,
Variations on the same, but
Sure. But you have this pathway. Did you have this in mind when you started, or did it just kind of built along the way?
kind of had it in mind. It was kind of the first thing. Mom had just a kind of a rectangular bed out there, and there was a tree right there that had to get cut down a couple years ago, and this plus another was over there.
Sure.
And so the plan was to do sort of a meandering path, and that kettle was there, so it started to meander around the things that couldn't be moved.
Yeah.
But then I had to change the plans with the mess mother, and she ended up having to be moved. But other than that, yeah, put in the path first, and then put everything in, and kind of cut right through the bed that Mom had, thinking, oh, that'll be easy. I won't have to move a lot of things.
Sure.
But under the circumstance, I ended up, when you go diagonally through a bed with a path, you end up moving a whole lot of stuff.
I suppose you do. I mean, just the stonework that even takes to get to a garden itself is just, it's breathtaking.
It's fun. It was fun.
is.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure my back would do it again.
I'll bet. I see you also have some like solar lights and stuff like that. So, I have a question. What would you say is your favorite flower in this garden?
The favorite flower isn't even blooming right now. It's a canna, a red and yellow canna called Lucifer, and that was my mother's favorite, so that's my favorite. But it's not blooming right now.
Oh, okay.
It'll be late summer or midsummer before it will bloom.
That's what I've heard from from a couple of gardeners is that one, some of their stuff has already bloomed. Their greater things have already bloomed. But I guess that's just the nature of it. know?
Right, it is. You know, the iris are they're pretty well finished, and just now some of the poppies and the larkspur are coming in, and,
Right.
and some of the peonies are. That's larkspur. So that's an annual. It reseeds. It was not one of my mother's favorites because it's just everywhere.
Sure. All right, now what are these? These are, don't tell me. Well, tell me.
They're a lily.
The lily. I knew it was a lily. Yes, yes,
It's a
yes,
lily,
yes.
and they're just different varieties of lily around. That's a feather hyacinth. That's kind of an interesting plant, the
Sure.
purple down here.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's different than a regular hyacinth, and it blooms a little bit later.
Right. But look at all the color you have. This is just amazing. You know? I mean, as you look along this little garden, I mean, now I notice you have less shade in this area. And so you have planted things that don't require as much shade?
Correct,
Right?
but by about, the shade kind of gradually moves down. By about 5 o'clock, it's full shade down here.
Is it really?
So I really have more trouble getting plants that will grow in shade than anything. This area right here where you are, will get 6 or so hours of sun each day, but everything back there is pretty much has to be shade back in the back.
Well,
But we can meander down the path.
I
if
would
you want.
love that. I would love that. I mean, you know, it's almost, you know, almost better. Ooh, you know, it just occurred to me, I think flowers are nature's fireworks. Yeah.
This is a campion. It's called a campion.
Right, right.
And it reseeds.
Ooh, and look, it's kind of fuzzy.
Right, and
It looks like a succulent, really.
Right, and it looks a lot like a lamb's ear, you know, except for
Lamb's ear,
this.
right, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And in fact, it's pretty easy to kind of mistake it for it, but it isn't quite as fuzzy as a lamb's ear, and obviously lamb's ear don't bloom quite like this.
Right, right. You know, I mean, ooh, wait, these are calla lilies.
Foxglove.
Foxglove. Okay.
Foxglove.
See, this is me knowing nothing about.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I didn't know a whole lot 20 years ago, but you know, you learn it. And Al Kaiser next door is always really good.
Well, we'll certainly get to him. I mean, you have a bird bath.
A couple bird baths, and now we're into the shady area, so this is where the hostas are.
Oh, look at the size of that.
Now that's an amaryllis, and if I do a good job, they'll bloom, you know, around Easter time. But I forgot about them in the basement, so
Since I see the
Hostas.
the hostas. Now let's talk about some of the bird life and or even the things that add to the pollination and stuff like that. I mean, do you have bees and stuff like that?
across the street, Carl has some
Right.
bees that
Sure,
they get.
sure.
And so you know, they say that they go. I think he said like a mile to get their pollen,
Right.
you know, or be able to do that. So
Well-
so he likes that there are pollinators around here, or
Yes,
flowers
yes.
that will contribute to it, I should say.
Right. Oh, and the hummingbirds. Do you have hummingbirds?
There are hummingbirds around. I should feed them. I should get out a feeder, but I think they like the natural stuff better. So
Well, I'm sure they do. I mean, you know, I'm just hopped up on sugar water.
well, maybe that makes them a little hyperactive then. So.
Maybe so. But wow, look at this. Ooh, and this looks so delicate.
Right, the coral bells. There are several varieties. They bloom sometime at different times.
Right.
And then you can see in the spring daffodils. There were a lot of daffodils, so
Sure.
that's kind of nice thing.
Well, what would you say is one of the more challenging things to grow?
The foxglove, to get them to come back each year,
Really?
you know, they reseed. So, and so they're like, this is a little baby right here. So kind of making sure that, you know, that will bloom next year. So you always have to have little ones now for next year to bloom.
Sure.
So you have to kind of be careful when you're working in the beds to not disturb some of the seedlings. And that's why I don't mulch. So then we can, you know, make sure that everything will reseed.
Well, I mean, that's such
It'd be easier to
foresight.
keep down the weeds,
Yeah.
but then you also lose the seedling.
I was going to say, that requires such foresight and just, I mean, you have to, it's such hard work to get in there in the first place, but you have to be so delicate at the same time.
Exactly.
Wow.
And
I
be
mean,
careful, you know, like I said, they're little bitty, and so you kind of have to recognize what they look like.
Right. Would you consider it kind of a therapeutic meditation?
Absolutely. I enjoy doing it.
Sure.
It would be a job otherwise.
Yeah, it would be a job for me, but I mean, as long as you like it.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for the interview.
Oh, no
I really
problem.
appreciate it. Al Kaiser, and we're checking out his wonderful garden, and it just really is just a masterful work, and just the time you put into it, and you have so many lovely varieties here. I mean, and even just your little accessories of all the stonework and the brickwork, and just the path and the layout. And you say that this is a dogwood that you planted?
Boxwood.
A boxwood that you planted 30 years ago?
Yeah, they're about 30 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah,
They're slow growing.
sure. Now, and you were talking to me about this poppy, you say. And it, I mean, it's just such an unusual looking plant. I've got to touch it. It just looks like, oh, it's so delicate. It is so delicate.
And these are just about ready to fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
They're
right.
about done. So there's the seed pod right there. Right there.
How long do they? Oh, look at this one. How long do they last? I mean, and bloom like this, just like a couple of weeks, or?
Yeah, they'll bloom for about 2, maybe 3 weeks.
Wow.
But each bloom only lasts a couple of days.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we're lucky to see them at all, really.
Yeah. Well, so, this will be open in a few days, and this will probably be open in a couple of days. And there's lots of buds on them, as you can see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, as we walk in your garden here, we're just going to stroll around here. I mean, and just now, did you plant all these dogwoods at once? Boxwood.
Boxwood.
But I keep saying that, don't I?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but did you plant them all at once?
I planted these 4, and then these 4 over here were a couple of years later. You can see they're not as big.
Right.
And then there's a hedge back there that's about 6, 7 years old. You can see it from here.
Now, what is this? And is this going to pop any more?
That's a lily.
Right. A very common flower.
Yeah, that's a
Too bad
lily.
I don't know what flowers
And
are.
these are lilies here.
Oh,
But they're
okay.
just different varieties of
Sure,
lilies.
sure. Well, as we go further along, I mean, and again, like this one,
Foxglove.
Foxglove has a different shade than this one. I mean, are
Right.
they actually the same batch or?
Yeah, they just come up as different colors. There's a white one over there that's just about down to one batch there behind the bench, white. They just have different colors to them.
Right. Now, your garden lends itself to a certain level of just tranquility. I see you have the bench there for sitting and reading and stuff like that. Now, when you come out to garden, I know that's work and that's probably a form of meditation for you, but do you ever just sit and have a moment? I mean, I see you have it, it looks like maybe for guests or other people, but do you just have a moment?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll come out here and sit. And,
Yeah.
I've given up coffee. I might have a cup of tea or something to drink.
Sure.
And just sit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what garden? Ooh, look at this one. Look at how. I mean, this one's on its way out, but this
That-
one,
that
look how
one's out.
lush that is.
Yeah, there's prettier ones behind over here in that peonies.
Right.
Yeah, they get less sun. They're just beginning to bloom, whereas this one gets full sun. It's just about done.
Sure. Now, what got you into gardening in the first place? Was it something you've always been interested in?
When I was a little kid, my mom would say, "Let's go out and garden." you
Really?
know. Oh yeah, and then she would get a telephone call, and I'd be out there by myself.
Wow. Playing in the dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
playing in the dirt.
Well-
and we didn't have much of a garden, but my dad weekly would bring flowers home to Mom. He lived in the city, so it was kind of a treat to have fresh flowers in the house, and we'd stop at the stores and pick some up.
Sure.
So I always liked having flowers. And it's neat to go around and cut some and bring them in the house.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forget. That's kind of a bonus.
Yeah,
You're your
right.
own florist.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Nice. Now, I see that you were talking, here, let's go over, I guess we can Oh, right. No. I guess we're over here, and you were talking about the deadhead as well. I mean, that's what you were pruning.
Oh, I'm pruning it. Yeah.
All right.
I just started this morning. So
Really?
before you came, yeah.
I mean, the work never ends. Look how delicate and tiny this thing is. Wow.
That's a little Deptford pink.
I mean, just even the smallest thing can be so beautiful in this, you know?
It's a Missouri wildflower.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's native to Missouri.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's outstanding.
I imagine it grows in other states too. But it's native to Missouri. My neighbor had one growing. She had 3 of them growing in front of her porch.
Right.
And she came over and asked me what they were. And I said, I didn't know. But could I have one and try it? And she said, sure. And from there, I've got them all over the yard. They
Yeah.
receive themselves.
Yeah, well, they're a nice addition, to all the larger, more spectacular showstoppers.
Yeah.
You've just got these little accents popping around,
Yeah, true. When you get a bunch of them, like over there, massed in with other plants,
Right.
they're pretty, and they bloom for a long time.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, not the individual flower, but they keep sending up flowers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, outstanding. Your garden seems to be primarily ornamental. Do you have, you got something I can eat around here?
Down at the community garden, I've got tomatoes and, I have green peppers over here.
Oh, I see.
But down at the community garden, I've got tomatoes and garlic and peas, and I just started cucumbers.
Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. You're only making me hungry, Al.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, let's look over here. I see that you've got some straw or hay, or whatever that is.
Well, there's
why is that
ornamentals
down?
in here, but there's also red raspberries,
Right.
so you can see them. Things are dry. I hope it gets some rain. But there are the raspberries on there, just as,
Right.
they're going to take a while.
Right.
They'll probably come due middle of June or so.
Oh, wow.
And rhubarb.
Rhubarb. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is absolutely spectacular. It really is. Now, I noticed that you have some lilies right here. I actually know what that is. That's why I'm showing off my knowledge. That's not the only thing I know. But they're lovely. They really are.
Those are little carpet lilies, and they only grow that tall.
Really?
They're just a sharp variety, but they're prolific.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
really prolific. I have here and over there, and some. And somebody brought me about 20 bulbs of those, and from that they just exploded.
All right. Now, given the just the amazing amount and just the variety of plant species that you have, how do you balance the soil and all of that? I mean, that's got to be a challenge, I would think.
I haven't paid a whole lot. The soil here is pretty good.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to. It's a sweet soil, and so most of the things that grow here grow well in the sweet soil. I have some azaleas in the front,
Right.
and they take an acid soil, and they're hard to grow here because St. Genevieve just is mostly sweet soil
Oh,
with the lime.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'd imagine so. Well, Al, this is just breathtaking in its variety, and the level of care and maintenance and manicuring.
That box up there, I have to say, is that's for
right.
bees.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and somebody is going to come by, and I've already gotten one swarm this year, but they don't seem to be too interested now, so this is probably all I'll get.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then they'll come and take the box with the swarm.
Oh, right. And
Yeah.
that's how you keep it all pollinated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, sort of, yeah.
Well, that's cheap labor for you.
Oh, yeah.
Nicely done. Nicely done. What would you say are some of your more difficult flowers to grow?
I have a fig tree over there that freezes down to the ground every year. It's too cold here for it. But I will get like 15, 20 figs off of it in the fall.
Well, as long as you can give a fig. Hey.
Yeah. And then I have some crocus that are fall blooming crocus. And if you go around on your hands and knees and pick out all the stamens, you have saffron.
Really?
Yeah,
Saffron is the world's most expensive spice. You
it
know?
is.
Yeah.
It's about $28 an ounce.
Yes. I once had, a half ounce. That's all I could afford. But still, yeah, that's
Well, I
that's
took
amazing.
about an ounce last year.
Did you really?
Yeah,
You slang
yeah.
that on the side?
Pardon me? Oh, no, I just use
okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Good.
Saffron rice.
Right. That's exactly right. Saffron rice. Yes. Well, Mr. Kaiser, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you for sharing your lovely garden with us.
Oh,
This
thanks.
is one of the premier events of St. John, and it's a pleasure to see you again.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Frank, and it's really a pleasure to meet you. What's your name?
My name is Joan.
Frank Johnson. Nice. First of all, I notice the first thing I notice is the density of your garden.
Yes.
You know, let alone the variety of things that you have.
It's a place for everything, but everything is not in its place.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so you have a different gardening style. Now,
Yeah.
did you plan everything, or did you just say, here's a good spot, and this is where I want to plant it?
There is this saying that you should know where you want to put something before you go to the nursery and buy it. So you're not walking around your garden going, where can I put this?
Sure.
You're supposed to have a plan. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Sure.
So you go to the nursery, you see something you like, and I gotta have it, I'll find a place for it. And that works too.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine so.
Anything works, and you can just, everything is ever changing. Some things, like these poppies were gorgeous last week. They're not so gorgeous anymore. They're
I
right
don't
there.
know. They're still fantastic.
Well, yes, but look, these are all the seed pods.
Yes.
So those were all balloons, bigger than this.
Wow.
Now there is a story.
Right.
These are from San Francisco, where
Oh.
my younger daughter lives,
That's-
where I know
was-
you're from.
That's exactly right.
Right? And she has become friends with a man named Tree, Tree. He has a community garden, and he's an original San Francisco 60s hippie. You should see, he's old, and he is definitely authentic, and he's just the nicest man. And she volunteers at his garden, and I take him seeds, and he brings me seeds.
Oh, I see.
I mean, he doesn't bring me seeds.
I
I go to
understand.
him and visit him, and I get seeds from him. He doesn't come to Missouri. I go to San Francisco.
Well, I'm glad that.
And that's where these came from, and they are gorgeous. And those ladies that were here were just asking me for some. I told them to come back next year because they're not ready yet. They have to be black inside. They have to be dried up, and I'll have tons of seeds for next year.
Outstanding.
And that's how I do some of my propagating.
I see. Now, do you
Mostly I give them away because I don't like to grow from seeds because you don't know what's going to happen.
really?
Well,
I thought that's
some of
part of
them-
the magic of it. For some, it's
No.
a surprise.
There's some you have to, like rooster combs. They're going to do best by growing from seed and just growing in place. And then when they're big enough, you transplant them and put them where we want some beautiful pop and color, usually red.
Right.
But-
Now,
And zinnias, I'll do seeds. But for a lot of them, I just prefer to have the plant, and then I know it's there, and hopefully it's going to grow, and I don't have to pick. Is it going to grow? Am I going to get how many?
sure. I mean, just the sheer density. Look at the size of this and the landscape and
Been here a
variety.
while.
Yeah, you know.
I've been here since 1985.
Oh, okay.
The garden has not. This is an original boxwood. I don't know if it's the St. Genevieve boxwood. This is the only thing, and the big black walnut tree back there are the only plants that were here when I moved in.
Really?
Yes, everything
Wow.
else has been added, including that Chinese or lace bark elm. That was my oldest daughter's 4th grade Arbor Day sapling. Mm-hmm. It's a little sign over there what year that was.
Sure.
And then that one is a Kentucky coffee tree, and that was the second daughter's Arbor Day sapling.
What would you say is one of your favorite flowers?
Look at this. I have a favorite.
I know. It's my favorite question to ask the
I would
gardeners
say
right now.
trees poppies are just because of the backstory, because of the hippie
Sure.
San Francisco and
Yeah,
his
and the
daughter,
connection and
he's
all
such
that.
a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say for right now, but those don't last very long, so then I don't know. I have lilies. They're not blooming now, of course. They're the St. Genevieve flower, as
Sure.
promoted by Bob Mueller several years ago. He got the
I didn't know that.
the city alderman to name the lily the St. Genevieve flower,
Oh, okay.
which fleur de lis is actually
Yeah,
is
flower.
actually like flower of the lily,
Yes, that's right.
and would be an iris, but irises only bloom a short period of time, so we went with lily. Might want to check with him on that.
I will.
Fleur de lis, flower of the lily.
Yes,
Iris
that's right.
can be a lily also. So
Oh,
anything
okay.
can be a lily.
Right.
Not quite anything.
Well, this is just spectacular. Now, I see that your garden extends very far in the back.
It goes back there a ways.
Wow.
yes. A
Wow.
little vegetable garden in the back.
You don't say.
I don't do well with vegetables.
Really?
That's what the Saturday morning farmers market is for.
Oh, that's funny.
They have such a great selection and such good produce and great prices. I go there. I put in something because it was there when I moved here. There was a vegetable garden there, and I grew up on a farm and farmer's daughter, so you almost have to have some vegetables, not
Sure.
vegetables. But I do a lot better with plants, with beautiful plants.
Oh, yeah,
with
I
foliage,
understand. Decorative
with
plants.
Flower, yes,
Yes.
there you go. Thank you.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Don't get snared in the net here, the cherry trees.
Well, is there a favorite spot for you that you just sit and,
Yes, there is.
Oh, really?
Right there it is, those chairs on the concrete patio, and I have breakfast out there every morning.
Out where now?
Out here, right there.
Oh, I see.
I move them up into the shade, but I like to sit out there, and it's just
And just
so
gaze at your whole
peaceful.
garden, huh?
Oh, the
Man,
birds, and I get out here before it gets hot, and
Right.
it's just wonderful.
right?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Ooh, you even have like little signs for your stuff.
I put out some. Just people ask. Of course, they always ask me then when they don't have signs for it. Then I don't remember what they are, but I do have a few signs. Just that one there. This is actually a native plant rain garden. Right here. And let's stick it over here a little bit. You can see where the water runs down the gutter, down the drain pipe,
Right.
and then under that concrete, then into, you probably can't see it anymore, but down under through there, and then comes out here into there. All these are water-loving plants, and then the overflow will go down into what looks like a dry creek bed.
Oh.
That's
That's
a-
got to be lovely.
That's a water conserving. It's very popular. It was more popular, I think, a few years ago, but it's still very popular, especially in the city for people who want to conserve, who want to do
Right.
the right thing.
Right. Sustainability and all that.
Right,
But
sustainable.
but also it's just effective, easier gardening. It saves you on the water bill as well, I'd imagine. Oh, okay.
A little bit, but that's a good thought. It is a good thought.
Now I see you have it says Monarch Way Station. The butterflies here must be crazy then, huh?
You would think they are. I get some. I don't get many monarchs. I guess it's because I don't have enough collection of milkweed.
Sure.
I can see swallowtails and all different kind of moths or get butterflies. I have no hummingbirds.
Yeah.
I don't have any hummingbird feeders because I figure if they don't like it naturally, it's too bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
There are enough things for them to get natural nectar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be putting out
Look at this one. This is amazing.
Those are all clematis, different kinds.
Oh, really?
Clematis, yes.
Well, it's a vine, isn't it? It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, ooh. Oh, and you can see it just, eventually this whole thing is just going to be filled with it.
Covered it.
Yeah.
Those are all gates from the property here. Probably these were the front driveway gates when I first moved in.
Well, I like how you converted and maintained what was already here and just kind of utilized the
Yeah,
surroundings
that's the idea.
itself.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the famous fleur-de-lis, but it doesn't look so wonderful now because it's not filled in yet.
Right.
As you can, there is a fleur-de-lis shape.
Oh, yeah, huh? Look at
It
that.
is there. Will look much better as time goes by. But
Sure.
it's the best I could do for now.
Well, right.
But it is there.
Yeah, I just require such patience and planning. I'm really just fascinated by this whole thing, you know.
I am too. That's why I do it.
I guess so. Huh. And there's the vegetable garden. It's like that's the only thing that's organized. Like, you know, I mean, it has the rows, and I guess that's the whole importance of it.
More
You know?
right. Yes. That's
What
how
are
you grow
those going to
vegetables.
be?
Those are edamame, or soybeans.
Yes, yes. Francisco, I'm all about the
You know about that.
Yeah, yeah. Those are delicious.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely outstanding.
Peas.
Right.
Spinach not doing that well. Golden raspberries, rhubarb, tomatoes, and I put in some lima beans the other day. They're not up just yet. As long as I can keep the rabbits out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what about the wildlife? I mean,
Well,
you've just kind of got a
I
little
quit growing-
buffet for them, don't
I
you?
quit growing corn because either the squirrels or the raccoons would get to it even before it was ripe. And so I'm done.
Well, yeah.
That's again the farmer's market.
Yeah,
It's
right.
A wonderful place for it.
Right.
They must have big enough crops that they can grow it enough and share it with the wildlife, where mine was just enough for me and I never even got to it. So
Yeah. Well, I'm
I
sure
don't
they
do
were
that
grateful and they thanked you. They just didn't tip. That's the only problem.
they didn't even say buy or leave or anything else. That was it. And then we just goes on back.
Well, it's absolutely spectacular, Joan. Yeah, and I like the way your path. It's a meandering path.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
It isn't.
Then go straight.
Yeah, it doesn't go straight. It's not linear at all.
It does
well,
have some sort of
Well, sure,
there's
there's
a
a flow
rhyme
to
and a
it.
reason. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think there's a flow to
Right.
it, but it isn't.
Right.
It isn't have a particular direction. I feel like if one were to walk here, you just kind of think and absorb as you do it.
Wander around.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, let's talk about these little things. I mean,
Look, oh,
these.
oh, that's just a ground cover. I don't even know what it is.
Is it really?
Kind of a succulent, a ground cover.
Is it really?
They're flowering right now,
Mhm.
the yellow, and then they'll like look pretty scraggly before the season is over.
Yeah, but it adds it pops. It adds such color to it.
It's
right
pretty.
now. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Well, absolutely.
And it's all here. The next thing that comes on will be the lilies, but that'll be, well, there's some now. It's just starting.
Yes.
But the daylilies will be more towards June, maybe into July.
Right. So just throughout the rest of the season, it's like you get like a reward every couple of days, every couple of weeks, and then as the season progresses, it just all. Is there a
Slows?
peak? Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on what you like.
Oh.
There's a peak.
Oh,
If you
okay.
like lilies, that's the peak. If you like in the spring, when the daffodils, they're everywhere,
Ooh.
and some tulips.
Mhm.
I mean, that's gorgeous because there's nothing else up except for them, and you just see those. And then they flop over, and then I have to go around and I crawl around on my hands and knees with a rubber band
Sure.
and band them all up because they will be flopping all over the other things and either keeping them from coming up or not letting them come up at all or
Right.
hindering my growth.
Right.
So it's always different. That's when I had a lady who she would come by and she said, always come by because there's always something different when I walk by.
Wow.
Always something different blooming and that's with everybody's garden. It's just I'm not special. It's
Yeah.
just that's just the way nature is.
Yeah, and everything has its time, I suppose.
That's true. What is it? For everything there's something season.
A season, yeah. That's exactly right.
And if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear flowers in your hair. Right?
Indeed, that's very true.
There's
Thank
some
you for showing
native
it to us.
plants in here. That's a native plant right there.
Mhm.
It's a blue star. And so they are mixed in, these two here. The two kind
Yes.
of light blue ones.
Yes, I was going to ask about those actually.
Right.
They're very tall.
They are tall.
Mm-hmm.
All of these in here, in the rain garden, are native plants in the rain garden.
I
Which is,
see.
again, I always say, before they were native plants, they were wildflowers. And before they were wildflowers, they were weeds.
Ooh, let's talk about this one. That looks so delicate. These right over here.
That is a Tradescantia or a spider wort. People say spider wort, but it's spider wort. It comes in, that one's pink, as you can see. It comes in purple, different shades. The only problem with it is they go to seed and they drop little seedlings, I guess.
Sure.
They'll be everywhere, and you don't want those.
Really?
Well, you don't want just
Well,
one
you don't want-
plant
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, of
'cause
course.
They will just take over.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very pretty. It's a shade, came from one of my brothers. It's a shade loving. It's right at its peak right now. I've had it a couple of years and it's just starting to bloom.
It just looks so delicate.
And I am blessed with wonderful soil.
Yeah, I think
Some
you're quite
people
successful.
have clay
Right.
or sand, but
Right.
this is other than I put some mule manure on it once every several years when I have the energy to do it.
Secret formula, huh?
I think it works.
Oh, I
It
suppose
hasn't
so.
killed anything
Well, good to know.
that I know of, but other than that, I don't put anything on it. Some mulch every couple of years also, but I haven't done that for a while.
Now, what exactly is the mulch for? Forgive such an ignorant question. But
The mulch
is
is
that just kind of aerate the whole
is
thing?
for looks mostly, but it does keep the weeds from growing. If you put it on thick enough,
Does it really?
it will supposedly keep the weeds from growing.
Oh, but the
And-
plants fight their way through then, huh?
Yes, they do.
Oh.
Yes, here they are.
Yeah.
But it also keeps moisture in the summer. It keeps it moist so that the sun isn't baking the ground directly.
Right.
But I think it's for looks. I think it just really looks wonderful when you have the contrast of the dark mulch and the green plants.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have all green plants, do you need mulch? I mean, when the plants have covered
Of
just
course.
about everything.
Yeah, sure, sure.
But it does look really good.
Joan, thank you so much for your time,
You're
and thank
welcome.
you,
Thank you.
for the interview. This is just I'm just so delighted with your garden and the density of it, and just the variety. It is amazing. And I'm here with Carl Kinski, and this is his wonderful garden. First of all, Carl, I do have some basic questions, which are how long have you been gardening?
Well, I've been gardening probably since I turned 40, so that would be 22 years. I came to it kind of late. And this garden itself, I lived out in the country, moved here 6 years ago, so this garden's about 5 years old. And it started as a blank slate. And the thing that kind of confused me was I went from a garden on a rocky slope
Right.
to a relatively flat garden with this wonderful thing called soil. And
Sure.
so I've had to kind
Sure.
of learn new tactics.
Right. Now let's just talk about just the sheer the breadth of it. Is that I see that it goes all the way around the fence line. You have your premier spot in the middle, and then it comes around to this over here as well. Well, what first catches my eye is this over here. What are these over here? Is this?
You mean, well, this was an above ground swimming pool
Sure.
way back.
Sure.
And when we got it, it was kind of overgrown, and we obviously converted it into mostly edibles, but obviously ornamentals around the edge too. So those are blackberries over there. We've got tomatoes that are growing up in old bee boxes that I had from keeping bees. So we got tomatoes there, blackberries there, raspberries over there. That is thyme that's blooming down there that has
Sure.
escaped the beds. Strawberries over here, and then we have herbs and other stuff growing. So we try to combine ornamentals with edibles.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I like you have a different style because most people just kind of have I mean, you do have a specific section for them, but you do combine them quite in a lovely fashion.
Thank
Here,
you.
let's take a stroll around your garden.
Sure.
I mean, you have so much shade because of the trees. Is it a challenge?
It's a challenge, but it's really nice. Like in July and August in
Right.
Missouri,
Yeah.
shade is a precious commodity.
It really is.
You can't get the same amount of flowers. So a lot of this garden is more textural than color. Of course, green is a color, but I love having the trees. So these are both tulip poplars. That's a black walnut. That humongous fellow over there is a cottonwood. And but I love having trees, and I love the dappled effect, especially during a hot Missouri summer.
Yeah, nothing like dappled sunlight. Look at this. What is this? I mean, it looks delicate, but it looks just...
It's sturdy. It will hold that shape through fall, and it makes a great dry flower
wow,
inside.
it is,
It's an
isn't it?
allium. I believe it's a spider allium, or I think that's what it's called. I don't remember, but it's a perennial, and it's beautiful. I think.
Right.
And interesting. It's a little pest that's common.
Wow. Well, yeah, but it's definitely eye-catching. It looks like fireworks, and that's what I think flowers really are. I think they're nature's fireworks.
Yeah.
I mean, ooh, look at this one. Now, is this thing flower, or what's the story?
This is past flowering. It was purple about 2 weeks ago, and it will also hold its shape, and it's also an allium.
Well, it's still pretty impressive. I mean, even without the flowers. That's what
I've heard that some fastidious gardeners actually will spray paint this because it will hold the color that you spray painted.
Yeah, but then
for
doesn't that
season.
stuff
It
take
seems
the
like
colors and
cheating.
whatnot?
It seems
Yeah.
like cheating
Yeah.
to me.
No
but,
AstroTurf either.
but you know, and I'm not about to get my spray paint can and spray paint them.
Sure.
But I've heard and read that that's what you should do. But I ain't doing it.
Is that a functional birdhouse?
I've seen birds go in and out of it, but I've never seen any nesting there.
Oh,
And I just can't throw stuff away. So
I understand.
I think it once was.
Sure.
I think the hole's much larger from birds pecking.
Right. Now I see that. Let's just call that the end zone down here. Does that contain any special varieties of plants that you like?
You mean the circle? Or
Yeah,
you
the
mean
circle. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean that has red twig dogwood.
Okay.
So in the dead of winter, from the house, you can see the beautiful red twigs.
Sure.
It's I like this, chartreuse color here. It also provides the food for the caterpillar for some butterfly that I don't remember what it is. Not a monarch. I think it might be a fritillary. And so it gnaws on the leaf, and you can see that they're starting to get gnawed on. But the leaves rejuvenate after the caterpillars are done with their stuff.
Circle of life kind of
Or
stuff.
you can go ahead and manually try to remove the caterpillars. But
Well, why would you do that when they provide the butterflies? It's the whole thing.
good question,
Yeah,
which is
right.
why I don't do it.
Right. Now I see you also have. Do you still do the beekeeping as well?
Yes, I'm not as energetic about it as I was, but I do keep one hive now.
All right. Now that being said, I mean that means that you've got kind of your own built-in pollination system going, right?
Well, that's how it's supposed to work. And
Yeah.
that's the plan.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
They help me, I help them.
Right. I mean, it seems like it's worked out so far. These are fantastic. They really are.
So I do want to point out one thing.
Sure.
So that big tree there, not super big, but that's a pawpaw, and that's a native to Missouri, and it's got a beautiful fruit that's related to the papaya, and it's kind of a cross between a papaya and a banana in terms
Really?
of its taste. It's a custardy fruit that comes early fall, late summer. And so this back area I'm kind of planting with pawpaws a lot, and you can see them there. I basically harvest pawpaws that I gather in the woods and just bury some of them, and they come back as those saplings, and in about 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to be that size.
Really?
That's the plan.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. What is this?
These are cherry trees. They're not ornamental cherries, they're fruit cherries.
I see.
And they are from my wife's grandfather's stock. So
Oh, I
it's an old cultivar, and we had our first cherry blossoms this year, and you can see here the first cherries that we've been able to produce starting to slowly ripen. So hopefully I will get them before the birds get them.
Well, yeah, that's
But
always a challenge.
I wouldn't bet much on it. But
Right.
I'm very pleased that it's started to fruit this year.
Well, absolutely spectacular. Carl, thank you so much for showing us your garden.
No problem.
This has been
Appreciate
fantastic.
it. Yep.
Frank with St. John Community Access TV. I'm with my dear friend Sam, and this is her garden that you enter through her shop, which is Only Child's Originals, where she makes handmade art, metal sculptures, as well as jewelry. Well, first of all, how long have you been doing it, Sam?
I think that this is my 23rd garden walk.
Really? Well, the
Pretty
weather
sure.
is absolutely perfect for
Can't
it.
believe it. We
And,
got so lucky.
and again, you also have incorporated your art into your garden.
I have.
Now, just take me around your garden a little bit. I see you have this wonderful pond, as well as your art displayed around it. This pond looks like a lot of work, and from what I understand, you have fish in there as well.
I do. There are fish in the middle two ponds. Now, last week you could actually see the water, but now the water lilies have kind of. Oh, there's fishies. I see 'em.
Oh, I see. Well, that's very exciting. Now, also you have your lawn art that you've created as well, and that's available to purchase also. Ooh, what are these?
That's called dianthus. It's a perennial, comes back every year, and that is my absolute favorite flower color.
Oh, well.
I try to get everything I find that's in that color. I like the super bright, vivid colors, as you might be able to tell.
Well, yeah, wardrobe notwithstanding. Sure.
Yeah, so this was a lawn when I moved in.
Right.
Something really cool about this whole side of the yard, all this stone and raised bed is actually original St. John's streets. When they redid Main Street and they dug up the top layer of concrete, this is what the roads used to be made of. The backhoe guys that were digging it up were amazing. I was like, ooh, can I have that rock? He's like, honey, you want rocks? And with his backhoe, he'd go grab the rock, shake off the dirt, and put it straight onto my hand truck.
Really?
So as they were tearing the street apart, I was building these raised beds on this side.
Really? Wow. Well, it's almost like the city worked for you and you worked for the city.
That's right. They didn't have to haul it away. Worked out really nicely.
It really
And then
did.
this side, it has raised beds that are brick, and that was a wall that was in my basement.
Was it? Oh, I see. Now, I mean, this is just, it really is breathtaking back here. And you also have various spots where people can just sit and relax. as well.
I like to have lots of cool sitting spots,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I worked really hard on this, and it's never this clean.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
Yeah, it's this clean all the time, I swear.
I agree.
But yeah, I want people to come and hang out, enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a really peaceful place. I just think it's so cool that you're walking down Main Street looking at all the really cool shops, and you have no idea the paradise that's behind them.
Yeah.
It's like a little secret garden.
Secret garden. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Yeah, but that's one reason why we're checking out Garden Walk is because it's just something that that I think is kind of underrated here in St. John.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best events.
It really is.
Yeah,
It
I like
really is.
this one, and I like the French Festival.
Well,
I like the French Festival because everybody, the whole families come.
we'll get to that. So tell me about this flower in particular.
That's a spiderwort.
Oh yeah, we saw some of those earlier with. Anyway, I think Junie. Point is that these. I mean, it's just so delicate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really cool plant. What's funny is that I dug one of those up from the woods and planted it here. When I planted it, it was light blue, which is not my favorite garden color.
I see.
But I did have this one that's this nice bright color that I love so much.
Right.
And I put the light blue one next to it, and now the light blue ones have turned more purpley. I think it crossbred with the pink one, and I'm really glad that it didn't go the other way and that my pink one, the color didn't change. So that's pretty exciting. But
Yeah, I think I saw pink ones earlier. Yes, yes. Actually, maybe that was at Jones. Well, it'll show in the film. That's the important thing.
roll film.
Yeah. So what are these over here? Have these bloomed or are they
This
going
is
to
bee balm, and it has not done its thing yet. Right now, they look super boring. It's but they get that same bright magenta color, although it does come in red and yellow as well. But mine is the magenta color, and they're alien looking. They're really cool. They have spiky things, and so this is just a sea of really cool looking flowers, and probably a month, maybe a few weeks.
I see.
It's starting to get little buds on them.
Right. Right. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. And I see you have these. Now these are, what are these called? These are luminaires, I suppose. Yeah, you put the
Candle
light-
cans. You can put a candle or a solar light in them.
Sure, sure. You ever put a bunch in at night and do the thing and light it all up?
Yeah, it'll be lit up beautifully tonight.
Oh, good to know. Maybe I'll come back.
Yeah. Really, really pretty here at night. There's a lot of solar lights and a lot of candles.
All right. Ooh, let's look at this.
That's one of the three things that was in the garden when I bought the place. I know nothing about it other than it's a rose. And then this one is a huge climbing rose that just opened today. And next week this will be a sea of bubblegum pink.
Really?
This big empty hole here, 4 days ago, full of poison ivy. Filled an entire trash can with poison ivy and came out of it unscathed. I'm super allergic to poison ivy, so I was extremely
Well,
careful.
I guess proper coverage is an important thing.
Yep,
I like this whole bed wall you've done. It just seems to flow so nicely.
Yeah, I like curvy lines a lot.
What about this whole, like this glass table and everything else we have?
Yeah, this is a big beefy table that an old boyfriend made. It weighs about 250 pounds, so it is where it is going to live forever. I wanted to move it into Masquerade on Main into the steampunk scene, but there's no moving it.
Well, what about
Take a
these?
team.
Let's talk about these things. These
So this
seem
is
so delicate.
feverfew, and these are about to turn into little tiny white daisies with yellow centers.
Oh, really?
And they get covered in flowers. And it's feverfew. It's a medicinal herb for fevers.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Have you ever tried it?
No, I
Well,
don't get fevers
Well,
very
I guess you don't
often.
get fever, so it's probably a good thing that you haven't had to, huh?
Yep.
Wow. Now, I mean, I hear some birds chirping. Now, I notice, and it would seem, most gardeners don't have, I haven't seen a single hummingbird feeder or anything like that. I guess we just rely on the natural.
Yeah,
the
the
plants
hummingbirds
themselves,
love the Missouri columbine,
Oh,
which is just about done now. This was last week frothing with, well, all kinds of flowers. The Missouri columbine and the irises, a lot of stuff was in, the peonies were all in bloom last week and are done now. Sorry, Garden Walk people, but the hummingbirds love these things.
really?
So, yeah, so I don't have feeders, I have feeders.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing.
Yes,
That's a good
they
thing.
seem to like it.
Right. I realize that some flowers have yet to bloom and
Yes.
some have already bloomed. What do you think is the next one to bloom in your garden?
The next thing to bloom is going to be the feverfew.
Oh, okay.
And then this gooseneck loose strife, which is, it's got its little buds on them now. And that makes a big cone of hundreds of little white flowers in the shape of a drooping cone. It's beautiful, but it's a very invasive plant, so you have to be careful with it. It's hard to dig up. I did not know that when I planted it.
Oh,
And so now it's in a lot of places. And it holds on tight. So if you have a hillside that you need to hold together,
really?
gooseneck loosestrife would be your friend.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
It'll stop erosion from anywhere. Then this is a cattle cage that I turned into a trellis.
Yeah.
$20 trellis, yes sir.
Wow.
It's the rose is pushing it though, so now it's like off at a little angle there.
Well, yeah, but it's nice to walk through, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely lovely. And what about this?
That was a killer best yard sale score ever. It's an original gate from one of the original St. John homes.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I love that thing. People at Garden Walk try to buy it every year. I just can't.
I see. And do you have any plants for sale this year?
Only a few. I have a couple of succulents for sale. I did not have time to dig up. I used to dig up and pot 400 or 500 plants a year.
No, sure.
I ran out of.
Well, things change.
Yep,
you
yep,
know,
yep.
and that's all right. You've still got some.
Someday I'll have employees again, and I'll have more time to.
The important thing is that you still have this lovely art of it.
I
as well.
do.
Yeah.
Look at this cool thing.
Ooh. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Siberian iris or a
Mm-hmm.
Japanese iris. I feel like I should know that, but I don't. So those just started opening.
Mm-hmm.
And the bee balm will be coming up soon.
Now, how do you select what to plant and where?
I plant what's on sale. I usually go to Home Depot and Lowe's and go to the sick plant section where they forgot to water them and they sell them for 25 cents or something. I bring them home and nurse them back to health
Well,
and
good for you.
give them a good home.
Well, that's actually a more beneficial thing than them just plowing them under.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And luckily here I have both shade and sun, so whatever I come home with I can find a home for.
Well, that was actually going to lead to my next question about the sun and the shade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, since you have such a variety of space and area to plant them, when you purchase a plant in the first place, do you always, or when you, maybe you purchase them, maybe you don't, but when you acquire a plant in the first place, do you always know where to plant it?
As I'm getting it,
Yeah.
no. I have to walk around with it in my hand and say, where do you want to live? They'll usually tell me.
Oh,
Not,
interesting.
not in words, but you know.
Well, that's good. Okay. All right. And I see you have a fire pit as well. That's
I
absolutely
do.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very nice place to sit and chill. It's chilly.
Sure, sure. Now, now, do you just rely on natural irrigation, or
Yeah, so actually there's a little river here
I see
that comes from my gutters. And my gutters used to just flood this whole area.
Right.
And so I dug this river, and it goes to a pond that's only a pond when it rains.
Oh, I never even noticed that. That
Yeah,
must
that's
be
a
new.
that's
huh?
a new one. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. What is this? Is this flour? I mean, what is it?
It smells like sage.
Ooh, does it?
Yeah. If you just rub
It does smell
rub
like sage.
rub the leaf. So it's clearly in the sage family. I do not know what it is. Hopefully somebody will tell me.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
great thing about Garden Walk is if you have mystery plants, somebody knows the answer. But this is wonderful in bouquets. Like I will, when this gets a tiny bit taller, I'll cut it because then it comes back bushier and put it in a vase. And if I change that water
Is
in
there
the
a train
vase,
coming right now?
there's a train coming right now.
Okay, well, here, wait. Next stop, St. Genevieve, all aboard. Yeah, I was
So
right.
this will last all season in a vase.
Really?
If you change the water or keep it watered, it will remain happy, and then it'll grow roots in the vase, and
Does
then
it
you can
flower
stick
at
it back
all?
in the garden. No,
Oh, okay.
no, it's just a plant, but it looks really nice. Like it's a great background, great for bouquets if you have some brightly colored flowers and
Sure.
stuff. It's a really good background.
Sure. Oh, okay. Ooh, and actually, I think your garden really does have one of the more impressive and larger ponds. You know, it's like you got
There's
water
big happy
sports.
fishies in there.
Yeah. Ooh, and what about frogs? Do you have
I have
frogs?
frogs and toads. And a couple days ago there was a frog on a lily pad.
I was just gonna ask about
On a
that.
lily pad. I thought that was only in cartoons. On T-shirts. I've never actually seen it in real life.
You don't say.
Nope.
Yeah. You
Just
got
sitting
some,
there.
you got some
getting
very
some
large
sun.
fish in there.
I do.
You really do. Yeah.
They've been in there a while.
Yeah.
They made babies. So there's little baby fish in there, and there's a bunch of black goldfish that are like totally invisible because the
Yeah, well, the
the
lighting.
liner is black.
Sure.
So you see them when they cross over the orange fish. You can see the black ones.
Right, and through the sunlight there, I'm sure. Wow. It's like, oh yeah, there's one. Oh yeah, there's one. What is it really? Yes, this is. Wow, that's amazing.
Ninjas.
Something like that.
I have ninja fish.
You do, but you also have some lovely art in your wonderful garden.
I do.
Well, listen, Sam, thank you for taking the time to for this show us your garden.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, okay. From what I understand, you're the president of
For the Master Gardeners.
the Master Gardeners, and thank you so much for being that. You know, really, and it shows. I mean, how could you not? How could you not?
Well, now, you know, this is 30 years worth of collecting plants.
Sure.
And if you look up on my porch, I grow plants from seed because they've gotten so expensive to buy.
Sure.
And you can get more varieties and that kind of thing.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. But this is just a spectacular garden. You say 30 years worth of work and all that. I mean, and it shows. It really does. I'll ask you something that I asked all of them, which is or I've asked everyone so far, which is do you have a favorite?
A favorite flower?
Yes.
It depends on the season, probably.
That's why that's always a tough question. I knew that. Yeah.
I would say the peonies are one of my favorites, and the lilies probably
Right.
too. You knew that the lily is
Isn't he?
the city that St. Genevieve flower.
Yes, yes. Joan was just telling me that, and that's Bob Mueller's Bob Mueller's influence. From what I understand. Well, yeah, that's fantastic. And do you mind taking us around your garden a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I see here that you've got this whole path going, and you've got this row of hedges here, and all of that. That's just fantastic work. I mean, just the work involved alone, the meticulous detail that you put into it is amazing.
And this is not too hard. This is, people like to tell me it's Pachysandra, but it's not. It's a sedum, and I just trim it because I think it makes the garden look. I kind of like tidy, but yet I like a little cottage look feel too.
Yes,
so.
yes. I think it lends itself to both. Yeah, I mean, and it just guides the whole. It's a nice trim. It adds a certain element to it. What kind of a tree is this?
This is a rose of Sharon.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Nice.
I have to have one of those.
Nice.
And that grew from, I have the original one up there, and it grew from a seed, and I thought, oh, that would look nice here, so I just let it grow, and then normally they're a shrub, but I trim them up into tree shape.
Right. Well, just what's occurred to me as I've talked to the other gardeners is just not just the work involved, but the long range planning. You know, in some cases it is about this season, but in a lot of cases it really is about a couple of years from now you're going to have something beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such delayed gratification. I don't know if I could stand it really.
Well, this used to be a pond. We had a little koi pond.
Right.
It was mostly goldfish, but it got to be a little bit too much work, and then I found a snake swimming in it one year,
Ooh.
and I said, that's it for this. And not that I don't appreciate snakes for their benefits.
All
It's
God's
just-
creatures, sure.
But so I changed. Some of these flower beds were around it at that time, so I just kind of adapted.
One thing led to another. Well, let's talk about this largest one that you have all the way down here. That thing is spectacular.
I know, isn't that? That's
Look at your lilies. Oh, there's so much in this thing. This is just, ooh, and it goes from one end all the way down to the other. And you've got your lovely little pathway here. So,
This is a Summon Substance Hosta. That's mature size.
Right.
It takes about 5 or 6 years to get to that size.
really,
Yes.
I mean, just for scale, my hand, it
Yeah.
just dwarfs my hand just like that, you know? Man.
So yeah, it really does well in
Mm-hmm.
that location. Because I have one there,
Mm-hmm.
and I had problems with moles eating the roots, and I think they got after that one this year because it never got this big, but
Mm-hmm.
it got half the size of that one, and this year it's a fail.
Oh, now that's something I haven't talked to the other gardeners about. So, what are some of the biggest challenges with regard to critters in your yard?
Rabbits mostly in this yard. I have a few squirrels, but they seem to be well behaved for the most part. And other than that, we're not bothered. We're not. I'm not saying the deer word very loudly because I don't want them to hear that.
Sure, sure.
So, but we haven't been bothered with things like that. And I don't really have too much else. Bugs, but that's natural.
Yeah, and I
And-
suppose it's to be expected.
Yes.
Wow. Well, even out here in Valley Springs, as part of St. John, right, even the squirrels are well behaved. That's good to know.
Well, I don't know that they are for everybody because you hear one person complain about them, but here, and they don't tend to live here.
Sure.
They just come and visit because the woods is over there. So I think they have their homes there, and they just come down and drop in to see if I have sunflower seeds,
Oh, right.
and they'll eat those.
Now, I see you have these lovely lilies here. Lilies and stargazers, I gotta say, are some of my favorite flowers.
Uh-huh.
When I go to the florist and what have you, you know, I mean, just such a lovely scent. Man, you know, and yours are spectacular too. You know, now.
Yes.
Now, I just came from Sam Conlin's shop, Only Child Originals, and a lot of her things have already bloomed. And say like yours or Al Kaiser's, your things just seem to be timed perfect to almost to the day. How do you do that? You just order
Pure
it?
luck.
Oh, really? It seems like you ordered it on the calendar or something.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know, because the lilies don't usually bloom until a little bit later past the garden walk. I don't know if it's just because it's later in the date fell a little later in the month
Sure.
or what. But, and it's unusual, a lot of times the peonies have been done too, but there's still a few hanging on.
Yeah, that was the case with Joan as
Yeah.
well.
But I've worked hard to try to get flowers that bloom this time of the year too.
I see.
You know, so some of them I have to grow from seed because of that.
Right.
You know, because you don't get them; they're not readily accessible out at the garden centers for some reason. That's why I hated that Bayers went away because they would have some ones that you didn't see very often.
Sure. Yeah, you say you've been doing it for 30 years. You're the master gardener herself, as it were. Now, as we go along here, I see you're like, okay, you've got the shade, and of course it all depends on the time of day, but all of these plants are underneath the shade of the tree over here, and these are not. I mean, even as you go around to, I mean, all the way over there, look at the color. It's just spectacular, really. Now, when you plant things, do you have the color palette in mind as you go along?
No, some people do, but I tend to, because it doesn't really matter, because you might strive to have a pink and white and red palette, but
Sure.
they maybe not bloom together,
Right.
you know. So I just, if I like a plant, I just put it in.
Oh, okay. Oh, this one's, I like this one. This
Yeah.
is, it seems, I mean, it's dense, you know? It's got multiple flowers on one little spot. you
That's
know?
bellflower,
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
yes. It is a beautiful flower. It tends to be a little bit aggressive in the garden. I won't say it's a nuisance, but it spreads by runners,
Oh.
and so it tends to.
Oh, yeah, so it just kind of paths on out
Yeah.
as opposed to shoots up.
Yeah, so I have to pull quite a, or I donate a lot of it to the garden walk, and it's easily managed. It's not like some other of the, because I think this is a native too. I don't concentrate on natives because I think a lot of them look like weeds, but
Weeds are just flowers nobody wants,
that's right. And
as
most
I
of
keep
them,
saying.
and most of them, some of the natives tend to be really aggressive, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's conducive to this part of Missouri, and this is the soil that they're used to,
Yeah.
and it's their house, so they figure they can take over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did. I had one that really took over.
Really?
Yes. I started with one small plant,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time I realized what it was doing, it had spread through the whole bed. It was going to take over my big one.
Uh huh. Right.
So I got rid of it, and it still pops up. I pulled some out from this bed.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. I didn't even know that was possible. I
Yeah.
figured once you pull them all, but they just
Yeah.
kind of hide elsewhere, huh?
Yeah.
I
Are you a
noticed.
gardener too?
Beg your pardon?
Are you a gardener too?
Oh, do I sound like I'm a gardener?
A little bit.
No. This is all what I've learned today. No. I'm flattered that you think that I might be. Far from it, ma'am. I just hope to learn from folks like yourself. Now let's talk about this one way right here. Yeah.
I know that.
What is that?
That is you're talking about pinky
Yes.
purple?
Yes.
That's penstemon.
It looks so delicate. I see. I mean, you know what's interesting is that this thing, I mean, to the naked eye, it looks kind of like it'd be a weed that you just pull up. But I see over here that you had some lovely flowers that are already bloomed and starting to pop off here. You know? So that's just really incredible. It must have been beautiful.
Yeah, that's a cone flower.
Oh, I
and
see.
it's just starting to bloom.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's one of the early ones, and
Yeah.
everybody else is going to pop
I
up in
think
a
some
while.
of the flowers are a little misshapen this year. And I think maybe some of that warm frost,
Right.
cycle kind of screwed the plants up. But that one blooms pretty much all summer. So it'll look prettier.
Ooh, look, there's your stockpile of rocks, and I guess that's your mulch and all of that.
Yeah, that's my compost pit. Yeah.
Right. This has just got to be a lovely place to sit and have your morning coffee. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Yes, it's very peaceful a lot of times.
Oh.
You can find me out here, since I'm retired, you can find me out here most of the time until it gets too hot.
Well, I'll bet. Well, actually, that leads to my next question. Do you get more of your peace from actually doing the work of actually gardening with your gloves and your hands in the soil and all of that, or do you find more peace in sitting back and reflecting on what you've done?
I like the work part of it.
Well, I mean, you must if it's going to.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you can catch me sitting out here, because I usually garden sitting a lot of times, pulling the weeds and making sure I can get all the little weeds between the flowers.
Sure.
And I'll be thinking, oh, what would look good here, and thinking of something add it to
Right.
it.
I mean, and it's one of those things, I suppose, that you have to really have hands-on and be in it, and then something comes to you. Wow, it's kind of like painting in that way, I think.
Oh yeah, probably. Oh, that's what I always said about gardening. You know, you want to put compositions together that coordinate, because you look at the foliage.
Sure.
Like you like a little spiky. It would be better if that Dutch iris maybe was a little blue-gray color, but that's what you want to do. And so I always said my flower beds were my art project.
Yeah.
A lot of times. And I think most gardeners will tell you that they do that for the colors. you know.
Sure. Well, and also there's a level of order and there's a level of chaos to it, and that you have your order and the pathways and things like that. But with the actual placement of flowers, I mean, there's the order of as you say, composition. But you can only control nature so much.
Yes.
So it's got to be like Christmas in the spring and summer. You just really, you only know so much of what you're going to get.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. This here section here, it was beautiful last year because everything bloomed together.
Right.
But it's been kind of hit or miss this year. So
Right.
it wasn't quite as pretty. The daffodils weren't blooming, and now they're drooping. That's like that. That's why that looks the way it does. Is
yeah.
because you got to let the daffodils, the foliage die off to give energy to the bulb, so you have flowers for next year. But it makes your garden look a little,
Oh, so you can't just pluck them out? That would just mess the whole thing up, huh?
yeah.
Oh, wow, you really do know your stuff. I mean, because anybody else would just yank them out, but then that would just ruin the plant.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would, you wouldn't have any flowers for next year.
wow. Wow.
So, but I started gardening back. My mom always sent me out to the garden when I was young, like 8 or 9. I started gardening at that age. She'd say, "Go pull some weeds," because she had 5, 6 kids at that time.
Sure.
And she didn't have time to do all that, and I enjoyed it. That's kind of where I developed my love of gardening.
Al Kaiser and also Carl Kinski said something similar. And also June as well. She said quite the same thing. Is that from an early age of it just being something that they have to do to something that they wanted to have to do. So it's an interesting course of development, really. Well, Sharon, Ms. Grass, thank you so much for taking the time. Today wraps up a lovely Saturday here in St. Genevieve with the Master Gardeners and the Garden Walk and Plant Sale. We'll talk to the Master Gardener herself, Sharon Grass, and Roger as well, about their lovely fruits of their labor. We visited a good many gardens today, and it would seem that the gardeners and their personalities are all as different as they are themselves. For St. John Community Access, I'm Frank. Thanks for exploring and discovering, and we Frank around and find out. And this is what it's about. Gardening is not about immediate gratification. It's about the planning and delayed gratification, and the beauty that you can get from not just working in the garden, but sitting back and admiring what you create. Thank you.